am a sensitive.
It's my mission to investigate alleged sightings and hauntings of Hollywood ghosts.
A sensitive can detect paranormal events beyond the range of the 5 senses.
I wouldn't say I'm a non-believer, but I'm definitely a skeptic. Together, our mission is to investigate the dead famous. Our search for the spirit of Bette Davis would see us investigating a Victorian house full of secrets and spirits. Chris?
Someone was sitting there kind of looking down like this. As soon as I opened, they looked at me like this and went right through the wall.
Take us into the caverns and tunnels of the infamous Dungeon Walk.
There was 2 knocks.
I saw something behind you.
You feel the temperature change?
And lead us to one of the spookiest places in the world, Salem.
He has blood on his hands that sat in that chair.
I am death.
My legs are like shaking right here.
To the soul known as Bette Davis.
Bette Davis is often referred to as the First Lady of the American screen. A powerful and versatile actress, she had a reputation for being extremely difficult to work with. But that didn't hinder her career, which lasted over 60 years, won her 2 Academy Awards and the title of the 5th Warner Brother. The Bette Davis story starts here in Lowell, Massachusetts in April 1908. Her ambition and drive were evident from the very start, despite receiving many knockbacks from auditions for drama school and studio screen tests. But the young Bette Davis wasn't a quitter, and she eventually made her screen debut in 1931, aged 23.
This region of Massachusetts is best known as the home of the infamous witchcraft trials of the 17th century. In fact, it is alleged that Bette Davis's own ancestors were accused of sorcery. Our investigation into the spirit of the indomitable Miss Davis is centered in this very area, a place heavy with ritual, magic, and paranormal activity. Ultimately, will it be Bette Davis's ghost that we find here in the region where she was born, or will a more malevolent spirit make its presence felt? Our investigation would start in Lowell itself, the small city proud to boast Bette Davis as its most famous daughter. On screen, Bette proved to be a powerful and enigmatic presence who demanded respect. But who was the real Bette Davis? I had tracked down Louis Karabatsos, Lowell's historian and a man who had contact with Miss Davis in her later years. What is the history with Bette Davis in Lowell?
Well, she was born here. She was born here in 1908, in April of 1908, and in a letter she sent me thanking me for inviting her to Lowell, she talks about her grandfather, who was a civil engineer and who really developed some of the parks in the city. So she did have connection to the city.
How did you find her personality when you spoke to her?
It was Bette Davis. I think what you saw on screen was what she was, a very self-assured, very matter-of-fact, very direct person.
Why do you think that was? Do you think it was because she was getting older and she felt she had some sort of spiritual connection with Lowell and she wanted to come back for that reason?
She accomplished a great deal. As we all get older, we all want to go back to our roots, go back to where it all started. She had a very strong connection here, obviously with her family. She mentions her grandfather in the note. And it maybe for her was some finality to going back where it all started, even though she wasn't here that long.
Meanwhile, in Boston, Chris was meeting with Howard Gottlieb, a close personal friend of the formidable Miss Davis.
I met her through my friend Faith Baldwin, the novelist. We became great friends, and I saw a great deal of her thereafter. And I was amazed at the keenness of her mind, and of course she was extraordinarily opinionated. And that's what used to get her into a great deal of trouble on occasion, because she expressed herself both privately and publicly on many issues.
What was she like as a person? Not a movie star, but as a person.
Warm, direct, with people that she liked. Very cool and remote, with people that she felt were attempting to use her in some way. When you picked up the phone and she said, "This is Bette Davis," you knew you were talking to a personality of great magnitude and great magnificence.
She had a reputation for being difficult to work with.
She perhaps was more ambitious than anyone else. Ruthie, her mother, was more ambitious than she was. She willed Bette to fame. She willed her to it. You know, Bette started out in a glove factory in a little town in Massachusetts, in Lowell.
How do you think that Bette Davis would like to be remembered?
The first lady of film. That's how she would wish to be remembered. And though she's over my shoulder watching me, I still feel she's here.
I had been encouraged by the revelations of both of our interviewees. Bette Davis did indeed have a long and memorable association with this area. I felt that if we were to find her spirit, it would be here, in the region she called home, rather than the bright lights of Hollywood. So we headed west across the autumnal landscapes of Massachusetts and the area where Betty went to school. Our destination was a 26-room Victorian mansion. Not only did Betty visit this imposing house when she lived in the area, but it is now owned by the grandson of her chauffeur. There were associations with Bette Davis everywhere. Coincidence, or a sign that our search for her spirit would ultimately be successful? The house was constructed in 1875 by a wealthy furniture manufacturer and was a focal point of the local community when Bette Davis was there. Many celebrities have walked through the vast cavernous rooms. President Coolidge, the famous circus entrepreneur Barnum, and Bette Davis herself. But it's not just celebrities who are drawn to the ominous-looking house. Local legend says that it's haunted.
This house is haunted, and that's my expert opinion.
It's an exciting house. There are quite a few entities, I think, in this house.
And I personally have encountered at least 3 of the entities.
Could one of those entities be Bette Davis? Would we find any trace of her spirit here?
Scary looking.
Well, this is it. It's good, isn't it? It's big.
Yeah.
We entered the looming house to be greeted by the owners, Mark and Suzanne Vaux.
Hi.
Mark is the grandson of Bette Davis's beloved chauffeur, and they both believe that the house they call home is also home to numerous spirits.
Do you mind giving us a wee tour of your house and telling us
We'd love
our
to.
pleasure. Where the activity starts?
Sure. Let's go right on up the main staircase.
Yeah.
This is the second level of the house, the second floor here, and this is actually where all of the paranormal activity starts. This room over here, in April of 1963, there was a fire in the house. The fire department is literally about 100 yards up the street, so they responded to the call in approximately 15 to 20 seconds they were here. When they converged on the room, which was pretty much simultaneously, the fire was out. It had put itself out.
And no one could have put it out.
Nobody could have put it out. Unfortunately, the gentleman in the room was dead from asphyxiation, and his bed was burned, and he was burned. There wasn't any fire damage to the walls, the ceilings, or the floors. Zero. None. And that gentleman is still with us today.
One night I came up with a plate of food and I couldn't get that door open. And as I approached it, it just swung open by itself.
In this room over here is the former nanny's room. She was a servant, probably in the upper echelon of servants because she took care of the children in the 1800s. And this room is very, very active. The spirit, who we believe is the nanny, still likes to stay in that room quite a bit now. Her name is Mattie Cornwall. She was originally from Nova Scotia. But this room in here is also noted for its rocking chair that rocks with nobody in it.
We headed to the basement, where a previous visitor had picked up paranormal energy.
He's a medium, he's in the house, and he says that there's something in the basement that Mattie does not want in the house that disturbs her. We have to come down here to find it. I said, well, what is it? And Suzanne was like, and where do we find it? So he said, behind the staircase, there were mason jars and canning jars stacked. So, not quite knowing what we're looking for, but knowing in a general vicinity where we're looking, Suzanne and I came down here, went through all the canning jars, tipped them over, looked through the boxes that they held them, tipped them, shaked them, looked for trap doors, whatever the case may be, found nothing. Nothing was found.
No.
Not a thing. Until the next night, when I came back down and looked again, and had a canning jar that I went to move out of the way to keep looking. And on that canning jar was a label, and on the label was printed the word peaches, but peaches had been crossed off by somebody with a red pen, and above it was the date 1957. But on either side of peaches, printed on the label, were 2 Nazi swastikas. So I figured that this is what he was referring to. So I grabbed Suzanne, I grabbed the jar, we went outside. The minute that jar crossed from inside of the house to the outside of the house, a gust of wind lifted that label off. It dangled, disintegrated, and blew away.
Really? Really, it was incredible.
There was no doubt that the owners considered this place to be incredibly paranormally active. I wanted to investigate for myself, so, as night fell, we descended the stairs into the gloom of the basement. Chris was using a tape recorder to try and pick up EVPs.
You got cramp?
Oh, there's something right here.
What is it?
It felt like a jab, just a jab. Pierce.
A knife thing.
Is there anybody else here besides us? Speak to us. Give us a sign that you occupy this home.
It was at this point that Chris noticed his tape recorder switching on and off at random intervals.
Is that supposed to do that? Look, now it's on again. Okay, I just turned it.
Maybe there's something wrong with it. Just like a little fault. So
It just went off again. You're getting it? You guys look. It's going off and on. Film it. Do it again. Turn this off again.
Was that just machinery malfunctioning or something more sinister? I couldn't be sure. But what we didn't yet know was that the evening's events would lead Chris to a terrifying encounter. We had already experienced strange phenomena with Chris's tape recorder in the basement, but I wanted to move on. We moved upstairs to the second floor, where most of the alleged paranormal activity took place.
Yeah, this was what I was thinking. All right? Now, Mark was telling a story about here with the lady.
Yep.
How about you go in that room? All right, you sit in that room for a little while.
Yeah.
Now, we put a rocking chair in there.
Okay.
All right, because remember the story about the chair rocking?
Yeah.
Well, you sit in here, see if you can get that chair to move. I'm going to go in this room where the man is, and I'm going to put a candle in there and see if I can get him to blow it out. Okay, I'm already feeling something right now. There's something here. Can you give us a sign that you're here? Please, blow this candle out to let me know, to acknowledge to me that you're here. I know you don't like fire. All right, I'm feeling anxiety right now. Blow out the candle, please. Please blow out the candle.
There's actually something quite unnerving about this room. And even although Matthew's supposed to be a really nice spirit, friendly spirit, I kind of get the feeling that because I don't actually belong in this house, I don't know, I just get this uneasy feeling that maybe she's not happy that I'm here. Chris, is that you?
I know you're in this house. If you're still in this room, give me a sign. Make contact with me.
There's no one out here. The door is definitely making a noise. Matty? If you can hear me, can you give me a sign of some sort? Everything creaks.
Give us a sign. Either blow out that candle or make a noise. It's getting colder right by me. My hairs are starting to go in my head, on the back of my neck.
Hello? Okay, there's a definite noise coming from there. Hello? There's definitely a noise. Hello? Chris? Is that you?
What?
Peeking around.
No.
Okay. There's a creaky floorboard, and then that freaked me out even more than I ran.
Oh, so you got freaked out by a noise? Where's that go?
It goes into another room.
Okay, well, let's go in, all right?
Okay.
Let's go.
Like. I don't like this room. It's spooky.
Where's it go?
What is it?
Oh!
What is it? What's wrong? What is it?
See right there? See where that lamp is?
Yeah?
There was someone that was just sitting there when I opened it. They turned at me and went right through the wall. It was, someone was sitting there kind of looking down like this. As soon as I opened, they looked at me like this and went right through the wall. I mean, look at me. I'm shaking.
Had Chris really seen an apparition? I wanted to see it for myself, so went down the stairs to take a look. Chris reckons he saw a ghost go through that wall there. Maybe he just saw an amalgamation of all this stuff here in the dark and thought it was a person. Freaked himself out. Maybe.
That's never happened before. That staircase incident.
It startled the heck out of me.
Oh, I don't think there's anything here. If there was... If there was something here, it's not here anymore. I'm quite proud of myself. I was disappointed that our night at the Victorian mansion had not given us contact with Bette Davis. We carried on with our journey. There was another place that I wanted to investigate. When Bette Davis was a child, she played in a place called Lynn Woods. Amidst the falling leaves of a New England autumn, located in the heart of the woods is Dungeon Rock. Dungeon Rock is a series of man-made tunnels and caves, accessed only by a rickety 20-step stairway. It is considered by local people to have huge paranormal significance.
It is interesting to note that especially children and women seem to be afraid of the place, that about a third of the people that go in there immediately turn around and come right back out. Now, whether that's claustrophobia or whether they feel something down there, that would be their interpretation.
Who or what is haunting Dungeon Rock? Bette Davis back to the woods she played in as a child? It seemed unlikely.
It could be somebody's ghost. The ghost of the pirate is supposed to be here, and a lot of people were convinced that that was true. If it's Bette Davis, I don't know. I've never seen anything down there, but lots of people have.
Well, this is it. Dungeon Rock. Good, isn't it?
Yeah, intriguing.
Do you feel anything at all?
No, not yet. Why? Are we going in there?
Yeah, we're going to go in there, and there's a 174-foot tunnel in the dark.
Really?
Dungeon Rock's appeal as a playground for children is obvious, but it also allegedly has a more sinister history involving cults, satanic practice, and rituals.
Really slippy. Be careful.
Right?
Yeah. What's that on the wall?
What is it?
I wouldn't like it, do you?
You mean this is the one place where they had cults?
Yeah, they used to come down here and
Sacrifice people.
Right. What's down there, then?
It's like, look at that. Is that like all dirt? What is that, all dirt over there? I don't know. Let's go. Maybe that's where they buried these people you're talking about. Is there anybody here that would like to communicate with us? Wow. I just felt like a vibration. Like a, not a humming sound, but like a bassy sound. Like a like that type of thing.
What was that?
Who was that? There was 2 knocks. Prove that you're here. Make contact with us.
What was it?
It's getting cold right by me. It was over by the front.
Do you want to go back up there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a tight squeeze. All right, you feel the temperature change?
Yeah.
Wow. Hello, I know somebody's here. How you feeling up there?
Okay. I feel a little bit edgy, like there's something behind me.
Really?
Yeah. Is there anyone here with us? If there is, could you give us a sign of some sort? Did you hear like a breath?
No. There's something by us.
Yeah, I know. I saw something behind you. Your camera's gone out of focus. Okay, what was that?
Is there a male spirit here?
Back of my neck's just gone really cold.
Why is it that when you're in a place like this, 1 minute your breath will be like that, 1 minute it won't? Do you have an explanation for that?
Now, look. You see it? It's gone. Look.
Yeah.
It's just gone like that.
Because as if it moved up to you, it was right by you and then it moved away. I mean, that's my belief.
Shit. I actually could see my breath a minute ago, and now I just can't see it at all.
So it's moving around. I want to go up by the stairs because I felt that apprehension.
What are you thinking?
Well, a female, all right? Female standing here, terrified. And I'm sensing that they threw her down here. But I don't think these were here then. They weren't here. There was like a way to get down. I see her bouncing on the rocks, going all the way down. And then her body laying there in pain. And I know that's a little morbid, but that's what I'm picking up. The female was thrown down here, and then of course she was killed down here. 2 males, 1 female. Well, it's not Bette Davis. We know that.
When we look back at the tapes, we saw what appears to be a number of moving orbs. Orbs are believed to be the most common configuration pattern for the spirits of the dead. The sphere is considered the ideal vehicle for moving about and may represent 1 or more spirits or souls, but the final destination was the spookiest of them all, the home of witchcraft, Salem, Massachusetts.
Salem, Massachusetts is a living legacy. It is the witch city, and it will always be branded as the witch city because it was paid for in blood, and nothing will ever change that.
The infamous trials of 1692 gave birth to a heritage that Salem cannot deny. The religious intolerance of the late 17th century led to hundreds of people being tried for witchcraft.
The devil came to New England. 21 men and women were killed, and they even say 2 dogs were hung for giving the evil eye.
Salem is also a place where many people report a large amount of paranormal activity. The town is now a mysterious and mesmeric epicenter for tales of witches, ghosts, and ghouls. It is alleged that Bette Davis' own ancestors were tried for sorcery in Salem. Would this tempt her to make a visit to the home of witchcraft after death?
There are many haunted locations in Salem. There are haunted hotels that you can stay in, such as the Hawthorne. There are haunted restaurants to eat in, such as the Lyceum. There are haunted cemeteries and haunted streets, haunted houses, such as the Joshua Ward House. And these places all center around that energy vortex that is Salem.
Well, I thought we'd come here, Salem, because this place here, the Pioneer Village, Bette Davis actually came here to open this place. So I thought it'd be worth our while to come here. But obviously Salem is more famous for the 17th century witchcraft trials. And I've got some pretty interesting people and pretty interesting things for us to do later.
I don't like that look on your face. Is it something wicked?
No, it'll be fun and unusual.
The Witch House, home of Judge Jonathan Corwin, is the only structure still standing in Salem with direct ties to the witchcraft trials of 1692. It's also a place where Bette Davis visited on a number of occasions on visits to Salem, attracted by its dark, macabre history. The Witch House consists of 4 rooms: a living room where the trials took place, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms, one for the children and the other one for the judge himself. It now functions as a tourist attraction, but if the stories are to be believed, it's not only tourists that roam the creaking floorboards.
The first time I went into the witch house, I was visiting Salem as a tourist. And I just felt this unearthly cold when I was in there. And one of the chairs I just looked at and it frightened me.
There's a chair in there dated 1656. It's a great chair with arms and it's carved. And they have told me whoever owned that chair, or they sensed the man that was sitting in it, was very evil. And they have sit in great judgment. And a woman the other day got so upset on my tour, she had to leave the room because she felt like she was choking and felt that if she didn't get out of there, something or somebody was after her.
On one particular day, I was giving tours of this house, and on each tour, when I came up the stairs with my groups to come into the children's room to give the tours, I would enter in the room, and from the very beginning, I'd get a tightness in my chest and shortness of breath. So after each word that I spoke, it was getting harder and harder to breathe. I'd probably not spend the night in this house alone.
And so we began our search for the spirits of Bette Davis in Salem at the Witch House. As darkness fell, we arrived at the house, and I was eager to see if Chris would pick up what previous psychics had felt.
Right, this room was where they had the pre-trials for the witches.
Really?
In the judge's house. And then in the evening, they would just use it as a family room and sit and read the Bible and have dinner and stuff, you know. After.
Convenient. And this is the actual room that
Yeah.
they did the trials?
Yeah.
You're like giving me chills just talking about that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use both senses. I'm going to use the EMF detector to see if I get any spikes, any changes.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to see if I feel anything, any place memory. Just give me some moments to see what I can tap into. Okay, my legs are like shaking right here.
Apparently, there was one thing that I was told. 3 other psychics have picked up something from one piece of furniture in this room.
Okay, you want me to try to find it?
Yeah, and I want to know if it's positive or negative.
Okay. There's something about that dark chair, like something with a black cloak or something that I feel is associated with that. I don't like this chair. I'm feeling blood on the hands of whoever sat here. There's a secret with a man that has blood on his hands that sat in that chair. Okay, now you've been up here already, right?
Yeah, and it's the 2 bedrooms. Master bedroom in there, children's bedroom in there.
Let's go in there first.
Should I go in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely feel different up here than in that other room. Right when we walked in over here, lighter. My body tends to feel lighter. Tends to feel like tingly in the back. I'm just picking up a little girl with long brown hair.
How old do you think she was?
I'm not the greatest with ages, but height in describing her to you, picturing her, I'd say she's about this tall.
4 or something?
Okay. Speak to us. Give us a sign that you're here. She's over here now. She's right over here. Hi, what is your name? I think she's just a little afraid of us.
It's a bit spooky. It doesn't feel horrible spooky. It just feels dark spooky. I wonder why Chris didn't feel lots of bad spirits in here.
See that right there in the bed? Look at that. Look at that. It's orb in movement quickly. Look at that. Very rare do you get an orb in movement like that.
What was this strange form? Had Chris caught a moving orb on camera, it certainly seemed possible.
Let's do a test. We'll see what happens. Nothing. I'm gonna do it again. Nope, nothing. Brilliant, brilliant. It's the best thing we've gotten here so far.
I would think that most of the evil spirits or bad or angry spirits would come to this room, but maybe they've moved on.
Salem was proving to be a fascinating paranormal environment. Bette Davis' ancestors were allegedly tried for sorcery, and I was interested to find out how witchcraft in the 21st century worked. We set off for Gallows Hill, the place where they hung the accused in the 17th century. 30-year-old George has been training to be a witch for 4 years. When the High Witches of Salem consider that someone is ready to become an official witch, they take them to Gallows Hill, where they are initiated into the covenant with an ancient ritual.
Gallows Hill, as you know, is a very mystic spot. It's almost like a haunted wood of forgotten lore and lone. It's beautiful.
People were intentionally murdered, even though they weren't witches, they were assumed to be witches, that those spirits would tend to haunt Gallows Hill centuries, years later. And it was amazing the amount of photographs I've gotten of ectoplasm and orbs very clearly up there. So there's a lot of ghosts still attached to Gallows Hill.
This is a crossroads where 3 roads meet. Traditionally, witches have always been at crossroads. We are totally responsible for our actions, thoughts, and deeds. You've walked the path of earth, air, fire, and water, and I say welcome into this way of life. I present you with this feather of the Morrigan, the death crow. Fear not death. You've bought your own soul. May the Morrigan bless you with life, death, and passion. Fight brave and true for what's right. Do you accept this gift?
I do.
Send let it be. I present you with a symbol of the soul. When you do magic, we all come from the singular source. Leaving, dying, coming back. Take this. I paint on your forehead the symbol of the moon, because the moon is the guardian of your subconscious mind, hopes, and dreams. And over your heart, we paint the goblin star, the sign of our people, the 5 points of each element: earth, to air, to fire, to water, back to spirit. So let it be. Behold the god of the witches, Baphomet. For this night in your dedication, you will never be a sheep again following blindly some ministerial or clerical path, but you will be as the goat. Truly this night you are God. Bow to no man and kiss the symbol. And seeing you are born into the world, I wrap you. I welcome you, brother. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, they tried that. Aren't you a witch?
There's many different elements they have to this that I've never seen before. So I'm glad I got to see something like this, see a different side of how people live, and how people believe. But kind of a little bit eerie, too. A little bit eerie from the way I was raised and what I believe, but to each his own.
I thought it was great. I love it. I'm just going to be a witch now. Okay.
All right, Gail, I'm really excited about this. Remember we were at the witch house last night?
Yeah.
I've got an orb that is in movement, which is very rare to get.
Let me see.
I see this strange anomaly right there? Well, this is exciting because we're seeing movement here.
That's unusual. We've not had that before.
No, there it is.
But you didn't get the feeling that Bette Davis was in that house?
No.
Well, I've actually arranged for the next part of our investigation for us to go to a very haunted restaurant called the Lyceum, and we're going to try something new.
New?
Yes, it's called necromancy. The Lyceum restaurant holds a special place in Salem's witch heritage. Built on the site of an old apple orchard, it is the building where Bridget Bishop lived, the first witch to be executed. It seemed a good place to use the ancient art of necromancy to try and establish contact with Bette Davis.
I think the Lyceum is probably one of the most haunted places in Salem. Sometimes the lights flicker on and off, and sometimes people hear voices, and a lot of the people are convinced that it is, in fact, Bridget Bishop. Once in a while, you have the apple blossom smell, which is tends to pervade the building, and that's another sense of her spirit.
Sean, could you tell me what necromancy is all about?
Necromancy's ability to summon and work with the spirits of the dead to do your bidding. It goes one step beyond mediumship.
And what was the purpose of all these objects on the table?
We have an hourglass, a sign of witchcraft. Time waits for no man. Time is fleeting. Enjoy the here and now, does the hourglass teach us. We have Anubis, the Egyptian lord of the underworld, embalming in the dead. We have the ram's skull, symbolic of strength. The crystal ball is like a TV screen to the sensitive, clairvoyant, or to the necromancer. It serves as a gateway to the other world. The room will fade to black. The ball will be the only thing in existence, and you will see smoke rise from within the ball. We have the cauldron, which is the source of birth. The candle represents the soul. We have the human bones, a chicken foot sacred to voodoo. We have the Morrigan, Celtic goddess of the death, by the skull of a crow. And the most important part of necromancy is the magister of the event. I cast a spell right now of necromancy that whosoever shall look into the eyes of the skull, let them see their own shortcomings. Let them drop their problems and pettinesses of the day and just enjoy today. For surely this may await thee soon, maybe as soon as tomorrow.
How is all this going to help us contact Bette Davis?
She'll be the first actress in the world presented with an award called the Golden Skull Award. It's a post-mortem award for her contributions and her expertise in her art and in her craft for such movies as Crowhaven Farm, Wicked Stepmother, where she was a meddlesome witch but wielded some kind of power, and most importantly, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, where she teaches us the cost of vanity gone mad and cruelty gone unchecked. I am death. I enchant these objects and I pull their power. Symbolically and emotionally, let them be ignited with fire. I summon and stir the power of the goat. I knock on the board 3 times, opening the spirits. Kera Santura Pakai Doramat Deragantia Santurisha Helasan Tiango. I give an offering to you of honey mixed with belladonna. I feed both the living and the dead with my holy offering. I conjure the spirit that's left within this shell to give a message to Miss Davis. And if it's her will, bring her here. Let my lips touch the lips of death. Brother, work your bidding with me. As I get ready to present Bette Davis with something fun and beautiful, I burn this in your name, through the smoke and through the fire. We give to you what you desire. You stand head and shoulders above your competition, both in life and in death. By the holy rites of Akate, by the power of Banal, we look for your face and flame and smoke. To the spirit, an eternal flame. To the soul, known as Bette Davis, this award is eternally now in your possession. May your works never, ever be forgotten. So it is spoken,